Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday and happy Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So, I have been looking very much forward to this morning's live. And thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Luan, for joining. And I am going to send some invites to people as well. Is to join us, but we are going to be chatting this morning. Hello, Miss Jing. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you. Hello, Lindsay. We're going to be chatting about forgiving the unforgivable. Hello, Chris. Welcome, everyone. I am super excited. Oh, yay. Richie, I see you. Richie, hi, Stephanie, has this amazing story, and we're going to be chatting a little bit about forgiveness, forgiving the unforgivable, and this is going to be just so powerful. Yes, hey Richie, I just accepted. I don't know if it went through on your end. There you are. Yay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you
Perfect.
perfectly. Good
Good
morning.
morning. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm
Let me just
great. I'm so excited for a
I
conversation. We've been
know.
planning this for like over a month.
I
Good
know, I know,
morning,
I know.
Sen.
Yeah.
Good morning, Ricky. Yes. So I am just gonna send a few more invites out to people, and then we'll get going. But
Awesome.
I am so happy that we're gonna do this because men hold a lot in, and then just even women and men, a lot of times we think, oh, that is too big to forgive because it's like unforgivable. But nothing is impossible. We can really stretch. And I
Yes.
can't wait to talk to you about that.
Yes, I can't wait to jump into it. And I just want to take a moment and say I'm super honored and grateful, to be on this stage with you, to be able to share this moment with you. So thank you for the invite.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I appreciate you taking the time as well because, well, let's just say Richie is very busy. He is a husband, he's a father. That's like a full-time job right there, both of those positions. And he's a businessman. You're into like real estate and different things, and it's all high energy. So thank you for doing this. So let's get right into it.
Yep.
Um, Yes. So I met Richie about a month ago at a conference in Atlanta called Build Your Brand. And then you sat next to me. I met your cousin first, and then you sat next to me, and we just started talking. I don't know. One thing led to another. And I said, oh my gosh, your story about, the things that you've gone through healing for and everything is just amazing. And so, hey, Sean. And so yes, but I think it would be really important to like define things first. So I was thinking maybe we could each share our definition of forgiveness because sometimes it's like best to start with a definition and then we can like move out into there. So yeah, I'm
Sure.
so curious. What is your definition of forgiveness?
Sure. So my definition of forgiveness is, if you break down the word, right, it's
Yep.
for giving, right, or forward giving. To me, it's giving myself permission to move forward.
Mm.
That's my definition of forgiveness, and I feel that a lot of people, at least for me, right, like I used to feel like, oh, I can't forgive because somebody has hurt me and I can't forgive them, right? Because that pain is real to me. Like it's
Yes.
extremely hurtful, and I went through something extremely hurtful, and I was like holding on to that because it was like I don't want to like not validate that pain, right?
Right.
Um, but throughout the years, I came with this definition, and I don't actually remember who I adopted it from or where I learned it. But it was like, no, I can still validate the pain that I actually feel inside. It's, unjust what someone did to me, and that's okay, right? But I could also give myself permission to move forward and drop this pain and not have to carry it with me and not have to hold that in my heart and actually make space for my heart for love to
Mm.
come in, right? And I that's where I feel that forgiveness is.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. That is so beautiful, like the breaking it into two parts, because for is like a prefix, and it is for giving ourselves a chance in the future. Um, Luani, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right.
Luani,
I apologize. Huh? Lu
Luani, that's my sister.
Luani. Oh, okay. She says she's so proud of you, little bro. You are an inspiration. You really are. So yes, I feel like and you're talking about, because when you're giving yourself permission to move forward, you're like opening up new places, new space in your heart, in your life for love and experiencing all those things that we all like really need and just crave for actually. I think of forgiveness, I've started thinking of it like this, like an umbilical cord, right? So when you and I, all of us are in our mother's wombs, right? There's something that's feeding us, something that's nurturing us. And then when we come out into the world, it gets cut and we learn how to eventually feed ourselves and like give ourselves like our own nutrition and everything. And I feel like forgiveness is kind of like that. So up until the point where we choose to forgive, there's something that's feeding us, and what kind of nutrients are we getting? We're getting, you know, a lot of that anger, and that's the thing that's feeding us, or the frustration, or you know, we're continually feeding ourselves certain things that we don't really want to experience. We're continually feeding ourselves from that person. But when we forgive, that umbilical cord gets cut. And so while that person may or may not still be in our life, just like you know, like our parents may or may not continue to be in our lives, um, you know, we're free to like grow and develop as, you know,
Yeah,
we want to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that. Beautiful.
So I think forgiveness in general is like a beautiful experience. I always say it's the best gift we can give ourselves. So I do want to just like go over, and you can add anything if you think, because a lot of times people also think forgiveness means they can't do certain things. And so I just want to go over that too
Sure.
really briefly before we get into your story, if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All
sure.
right.
It's your floor. Yeah, I'm following you.
Well, I just like to give people information, because people, I don't want anyone to get done with this live and be like, that's a really great story that Richie shared, but like it may mean that I can't do these things. So like forgiveness does not mean you have to ignore your emotions, your pain, your hurts. It does not mean that you forget what happens, right? And it does not mean you suffer in silence or you're quiet. Like here we are, we're talking. You know, I talk a lot about my stories. Today you're going to talk about your story. It doesn't mean you're suffering. It doesn't mean you're a doormat, and that it means that things just go back to normal. You know, if you forgive someone, and it does not mean someone cannot pursue justice. You know, legally go through the court system. You can forgive and still get legal justice, depending on the situation. Um, and yeah, is there anything else that you can think of?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think like I said in the beginning, right? Like forgiveness, it's about giving yourself permission to move forward, right? It's you, everything that happened, the painful experience, whatever it is that you went through, or whoever it is that hurt you, that's true. That's happened, right? You felt a certain way, and for some people, it might be something, like I don't know, as small as like holding on to some type of pain, like from your childhood,
Mhm.
like maybe my grandmother, I went to put my hand on the stove and she hit my hand. And right, like I make up a story about that. And I made up a story that my grandmother, didn't love me or whatever. And then I carry that for 20 years
Um,
throughout my life, right? So like that could be something just very simple of like, hey, no, right? My grandmother was scared, and her
yeah,
reaction, because she didn't want me to burn myself, was to
yeah,
hit my hand.
yeah,
She wasn't doing it in any way of like malicious or trying to hurt me. So it's like I give myself permission to like forgive and move forward, right? So I really, to me, it's like forgiveness. It's all about making space, right? And making space in our hearts so that we can let go of the pain and love can come into our heart, right? Um, and I don't mean, not, let me rephrase that, not even necessarily love come in, because I believe that all the love we have is already within there. It's just opening it up so that we can feel it again, right? Because sometimes
yeah.
that pain adds blocks to it, to around our heart, and yeah, we kind of forget to access that
Yeah.
that's already within us.
Yeah. Kind of like removes the blockages.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Um, I love it. It's so beautiful. And the analogy of your grandmother slapping you to say, no, don't touch it. And then the stories that we tell ourselves after someone hurts us or surprises us, like that's a whole interesting thing. So yes, I guess actually I would love to hear, or everyone would love to hear, your story, if you would be okay still
yeah,
with sharing that.
of course.
And then at the time when you were in an unforgiving place, what were the stories you were telling yourself?
Sure. So I'm I guess I'll just start, at the beginning. I'm gonna try to make it as short as possible to not go, super long. But um, yeah, I was born here in Miami, Florida, immigrant family. My parents immigrated from Cuba. From the time that I can remember, right, I was born like materialistic things. Like
Mm,
there was always an abundance, right? An abundance of things. We were always, I guess, financially speaking, the better ones within our family, right? So I mean, I guess you could say that I was born with a gold spoon in my mouth, right? Like
okay.
the Richie Rich cartoon. Like that's what I saw growing
That
up,
was
right?
you.
Uh, yeah, that was me. And the first time that I experienced some type of trauma that I could go back to and remember, I was 3 years old, and I remember being in school, and the principal, that's what pre-K three, I believe, coming over the loudspeaker and saying, "Richard Acosta, Luani Acosta, please report to the principal's
Mhm.
office." And I mean, I was super little. I had never been even to the admissions office. I had no clue why I was going. I remember walking
Yeah.
out of my classroom. My sister come and holds my hands, and we walk to the principal's office, and there's police officers there, and the police officers, tell us, "Hey, there's been an incident with your parents, and we're going to take you to the police station." So I remember going to police station, coloring, being there for a while, and when they finally take us to our home, we're driving down this long street where a house is, and all I see is police cars everywhere. I see news cameras everywhere, and I see when I'm pulling in my dog being choked. We had a German Shepherd being choked with a collar on the gate, and I see my dad sitting on the steps in handcuffs. So the story to that, which I later find out, was that I heard that my mother had been kidnapped, taken from the grocery store. This was in Miami in the early 80s,
Mhm.
and they drove around, I guess for a couple hours before they took my mother back to the house. They woke up my dad with a gun in his head, and they were trying to steal money from my parents. Luckily, we had dogs. My dad convinced them that the money was in the dog's cage, and fast forward, police, everything happens, and then our life kind of turns chaotic. We end up leaving the country, and I grew up in Venezuela. We did that for a decade or so. Um, yeah, so that was like the first time that I experienced that. And what I heard when I was like 7 years old, 7, 8 years old, I think, I heard from a family member that my younger cousin, Regal, um, which I don't even know if the story is true or not,
Mhm.
but this is the first time that I held on to pain and anger. His mother, which had abandoned him at the age of 3, was the one that had like organized these people to kidnap my mother and held her for ransom, because she knew my father had money.
Right.
So I mean, a woman that I never met, a woman that I had no idea who she even was, and at a young age, I started creating all these stories about her.
Yeah.
Stories of she was evil, she was, trying to hurt us, and I painted this picture in this woman that was just a terrible monster, and at first I don't even know if that story is true, and second, I don't know, she was a drug addict, so this was a lady that was operating from a place of, she was probably trying to get her next high, and she thought, hey, I can score by, we're gonna have a long supply of months of getting high, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably what she was going through. But that was really one of the first people that I felt a very painful experience, and then it was, throughout the years of me, therapy, personal development work, whatnot. That was like one of the first stories that I began to let go of, right? That I could
Yeah.
remember from like early childhood. And then you
Yeah.
fast forward, by the age of 13, my father goes to prison. So all through from 13 to 19, my teenage years, I didn't have my father home. He was in prison. And at 19 years old, my father comes out of prison, and within 4 months of that, my mother and father were kidnapped.
Mm.
And that experience was, I mean, it was devastating, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're a 19-year-old boy. The stories that I made up, the pain, the anger that I had towards the people that took him, which I didn't even know who took him. So
Mhm.
there wasn't like any legal justice
Yeah.
or anything like that, right? Like they were just ripped out of my life from one day to the next. I mean, yeah, it was devastating, and then it wasn't only so much pain and anger towards the people that took him, but then it was like anger towards my father and the choices that he made. It was pain, towards my mother. I heard a story that when the kidnappers came, they had that day, just to kind of walk you through this and paint this picture. Um, it was, I don't know, 7:38 in the morning. I think I get to my house, maybe 8:30, and because I was at school, my sister calls me. I go back to the house. There's, I think, my aunt's there, one of my dad's cousins there, and they're communicating with us. And I
Mm.
remember them saying, "Hey, don't call the police. Your father's handling this. Don't call the police." And I'm 19 years old. I'm a boy, but my inclination, what I wanted to do was call the police or
Mhm.
go to the house where they were gonna go. Like I knew where they were gonna go to get money, so I was like, "Let's everybody go there." And like, hey, here's the money, but you got to give us our parents, or like
Yeah.
I don't know. We all end up in a wild, wild west shootout here. That was like my where my mind was going. And but nobody listened to me, right? Like the adults were like, "Hey, your father's handling it. Don't do anything. Your father's handling it." And then when my mother, hours, I'm talking about 10 hours later, ends up at
Mhm.
the house with the people that took her, she ends up giving all the safes that were in the house. They broke down walls. She gives more than what my father had said to give. And they tell her, okay, you can stay here, or, you can stay here and we'll let you know when we release your husband. And the story that was told to me was that my mother chose to go back in that car, with the people
Oh.
that took her, and that she said, no, you promised me you would release us together. And if not, if you're going to kill us, then you kill me next to my husband. So
Oh, wow.
the the first time that I heard that story, um, I think for over a decade, like I carried this pain and this hurt inside of me of like
Take your
of
time. Yeah.
yeah, of like unworthy, of not good enough, of like why did my mom choose to leave and not stay for me or my sister? Like, did she not love us? Were we not a priority to her? And that was a story that for a long time ran me. And it showed up in relationships with me, especially like intimate relationship, right, with women. Um, and that was something that, when I began to actually reframe the story in my head and actually, you know, began to see it from a different perspective and be like, my mom was operating out of survival mode. I know 100% that she lived her life for me and my sister, and that like we were her priority, right? Like she didn't never work. Like she was a mother. She raised us, and all she did was from the day I was born to the day that her and my father were taken was give us love. That's literally all she did. And when I began to reframe that in my head and see my mom as like that decision that she made, it was a split second decision, and she was trying to save my father.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
what would I have done in that moment? Could I have
Mhm.
operated the same way?
Yeah.
Possibly, maybe, right?
Yeah.
So when I began to reframe it, I think it was a lot easier for me to begin to let go of that story that was holding me down for such a long time, and begin to forgive. Not only forgive my mother for the choice that she made, but forgive myself for carrying that story and that pain for such a long time, because it was like I came to a realization that like, hey, this story no longer serves me, right?
Right.
So yeah, that was that was that was definitely a powerful one. And then, I mean, for a very long time, like I said, I don't know who were the people that took him, or people, I'm not sure. The only thing that I know is that there was multiple people when they went with my mother to get money. So it wasn't like one person, it was like 5 or 6 people, right? And they were in a van and all that. That's all I know. But besides that, I don't know who's the one that took them. But for a long time, I wanted justice. For a long time, like the anger, the pain that I held on to, like I wanted to see these people light on fire. Literally, like that,
Oh
that
yeah.
that's what I felt, right? And I guess that, especially in the early days, like 19, 20, 21, those first couple of years, like since I didn't have a way and I still hadn't started therapy and I still hadn't began to work on me, since I didn't have a way to like express or an outlet to let go of that pain, um, what I resulted to was I would, at that age, I would go out with my friends and I would drink. And well, when I drank, what I wanted to do was pick a fight with the biggest person in the room. And that's what I
Mm.
would do. Because I wanted somebody to like take me out of my misery. And, and it wouldn't happen. I would just continue to fight and get in fights with people. And sometimes I would break people's faces. Sometimes they would break my face. But that was not very productive or not a good way to, let go or express your pain. And thankfully, um, I want to say in the early days, maybe 20,
Mhm.
maybe 21, my sister tricked me into going into some a retreat. And that was probably the first time that I began to bring this pain to my awareness and like began to be like, okay, this is something that needs dealing with. And then from there, I began to do therapy and just began the journey of looking inward and and begin to heal. And I would say it was an on and off process pretty much throughout all of my 20s. And I didn't really get committed until like my early 30s. But I actually want to share something that, so I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to show you. This is a book that I'm holding here. Uh,
Okay.
so this book has a bunch of stuff on it. Yeah, this is my
Oh,
notebook. In
cool.
2020, yeah, 2019, I did a gratitude training workshop training, and that was like a 6, 7 months, you know, experience, right? And during that experience, there is, and I mean, I'll just kind of show like so you can see how much writing there is. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, like there's just writing everywhere, right? And one of the things that we did during that is write forgiveness letters. So I thought, for today, especially that we're doing this, it would be appropriate, to share this. I mean, I
Yeah.
looked at this I did this in 2019 and I haven't picked this up since then. I had it in my attic. I thought I didn't even have it. I had to kind of search for it this past week, since I knew I was coming on this. So I wrote a forgiveness letter to the people that took my parents, and then I wrote a forgiveness letter to myself. So
Mm.
yeah, and I think this was really the beginning of me beginning to let go of that pain and the stories and everything that was associated with the kidnapping of my parents, right? This was the beginning of that. So here goes. Uh, Dear other assholes. That's how I called it.
I love the honesty. I think that's key. It's really key. And you like leaned right into that emotion you were feeling. And I
Yeah,
think when we forgive, we think we don't lean into that anger, but you like stated it,
yeah,
the
yeah.
truth,
The,
because they
the
are.
truth.
Yeah.
Dear
Yeah.
other assholes, I don't know your name. I don't know anything about you. But I am writing to you today so that you know who my mother, Alina Acosta, and my father, Richard Acosta, were. My mother was the glue of our family. She was the one who kept it all together. The one who, when you needed something, she was there. My mother was selfless. She was in service to others. She was the one with a strong faith. The one was the one who was strong when my dad was in jail. The one who gave me love. The one who cared for me. She was an extraordinary woman who, because of you, is no longer with us. Who, because of you, her 5 beautiful grandchildren will never have the chance to meet her and experience her love, her beauty, her strength, and her faith. My father was my hero. He was powerful. He lit up any room when he walked inside. He was the one who took care of everyone in the family, the youngest of six siblings. And he maintained all of his siblings. He was always willing to give, even to strangers. To every He gave to everyone, and he gave love. He was a visionary man who came from the poorest part of Cuba and created an extraordinary life. He was powerful, courageous, strong, loving, compassionate, but most of all, my father was my strength, my protector, my mentor, and because of you, and because, I'm sorry, I can't read it, and because of this, the world and I can no longer experience this beautiful, loving, powerful, visionary man. My heart is broken and it hurts the deepest parts of my soul. But today, I have my power back. I forgive you for breaking my heart and taking my parents from me. Love, Richie.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing this. I think, I mean, your parents would be absolutely so proud of you. And I feel like one of the most powerful things about forgiveness, especially when you start to reframe the story, is you get to show off the beauty in other people. And you get to, through forgiving, you get to let your mom's life, and like she clearly was just so loving, and you talked about her being the glue, and how much she really loved and was loyal to her family. Like she really fought for her family, and it's so beautiful. And you only get to tell that, and you only get to share the beauty of your mom and your dad and their lives because you forgave.
Yeah,
Like if you hadn't forgiven, they'd still be kind of like hidden shadows. But because you forgave, they get to like still have light in this world. And
yeah.
and and I just, that's so powerful. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, and I think that what we can all learn from your letter is that in forgiveness, there's that your letter is like full of emotions. Like how you start, even though you call them assholes, you end with love. And so like part of forgiveness is like going through those emotions and leaning into them and getting them out. It's not about pretending anything away. I think, yeah, your life is so powerful too. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
for allowing me to share this today.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, this is an honor. I do want to say, because one of our guests, Brother Gifted, left you a message. He said, it's like bright. I'm like looking kind of into the sun out here. So it's hard to read. Sometimes past pain can become our greatest strength. Yes, I believe that to be true because the slots, is it slots? I think slots, God has stated his strength is perfected in our weakness.
Facts.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah, because we do not have to be strong. And I think we also think that when I forgive, it means that I have to be strong now. And I think also the beautiful thing about men is you guys are so deeply loving. Like there's so many depths and layers to you as men, but like with society and different expectations, at least in this culture, maybe in Western culture, it's like expected to like, oh, just show one or two of the layers and be strong, so to speak. And so I think that the fact that you were willing to be vulnerable and to like really open up, I really hope for any of the men who are watching it now or will watch in the future, that they'll learn that it's okay to have like all of these layers. There's like nothing wrong with it. It's like okay to have this layer here and this layer and this and like it's all part of us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Especially for me, like growing up in a Latin culture, I mean, it was ingrained from very, very early on, and even my dad, like although my dad is, I mean, yes, he's my hero, and he's like, I've always had him on this pedestal. I know he's human and he all his defects, right? But he's an extraordinary man, and I learned so much from him in only 19 years. But I think one of his, I don't want to use the word defect, but that's the word that's coming to my mind. But I guess it's because of his programming, right? And like his
Mhm.
upbringing and his culture, where it came from was like that. Like he would say, men, we don't show our weakness. We don't cry. If you need to cry, you go into a bathroom and where nobody could see you. You don't show that. You got to always be strong. And that's something that thankfully I was able to to let go of and be like, that really does, that is a very old generational way of thinking, and that does not serve me in any which way, right? Like whatever I feel, I'm going to express it, whether it's joy, happiness, love, sadness. You're gonna see me, right? And that's how I'm gonna show up in relationships, and
Yeah.
it could be in business, it could be in anywhere, right? Like I'm gonna
Yes.
authentically be me, and I'm not gonna hide any part of myself. And I think that for men, especially in like Latin culture, like there's this belief that you have to be this strong, macho,
Yeah.
and yes, you get to tap into that part, right? But you also get to be loving, and you get to tap into your heart, and you get to be nurturing, and you get to be soft, right? Because we
Yeah.
both have that, men and women, we both have that masculine and feminine energy,
Yes.
and we get to use that and tap into that at different times.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing this was not to say anything against like masculine because it's like definitely it's needed as a woman, I mean, it does create respect, right? But it's like how does that all flow together and just being yourself? And then I love what Brother Gifted reminded us because we do get tired. And when we have to, like, release or take time for ourselves, or we really are at our wits' end, and it's okay to be at our wits' end, we have God, like, and He will sustain us and He will carry us through when we can't carry ourselves or our families through. Like, it's always good to have, like, someone who's always got our backs because life's and like God is always going to have our backs. So it's just like I think also like great for our mental health to know that like even if I feel alone, I'm not alone. Like there's always this power behind me. And I think thank you, Brother Gifted, for reminding us of that.
Yeah,
Um, see
I,
if there's
I
an-
agree.
anyone else. Welcome, Anna, Sandra. Let's see, Dad to three J's. Three J's. Cool. I'm guessing that means you have three children, but I might not be interpreting that right. But happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, by the way. Father's Day is every day. We don't have to have one day.
Thank you.
But I just made the connection. Father's Day is in Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I love
Yeah.
it.
Uh,
Um, Yes, but Dad of 23J said he is the reason I have been able to heal and always therapy into my life. So I'm guessing he's been inspired by you, Richie.
yeah, that's my cousin George.
Ah,
I remember, I think it was 2015 that I connected with this woman. Her name is Debbie. She was, I started going to therapy sessions with her down here in Miami, and I think it was the first or second therapy session that I did that I called my cousin George, and I'm like, "Yo, you gotta go to this lady, man.
ah.
She is amazing. She's helping me in so many ways that
Mm.
you have to, you just trust me, please go." And eventually with some time he ended up going, and I mean, the man that he is today from the man he was 10 years ago, it's a beautiful thing to have witnessed.
Yeah. Well, I think that that also speaks to leadership for you and just in general. Like we think about leadership and we think about men and we think about like business. And you are a businessman, of course. But part of leadership is caring enough, and that love, and inspiring people to just inspiring people in all areas of life, including our wellness, our mental health. So I mean, you are a leader in so many ways. It's like amazing.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Uh, I think
And oh,
to
sorry, what were you saying?
just no, yeah, just to touch on like mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna share something this past year. So to complete my story to kind of get you to where I am today, and I'm just gonna say it in a very fast forward way. By the age of 29, after I lost my parents, I poured myself into work. I did extremely well in real estate, made millions of dollars, and by the age of 29, after '08 financial crisis, I ended up going bankrupt, lost it all.
Mm.
Moved to New York, graduated NYU, landed a job on Wall Street, did the corporate thing for like a decade, making a good, living, not millions of dollars, but I was making a good living. And then decided to quit, went to a startup, made millions in the startup, but then lost it all. And last year, actually, beginning of last year, I found myself repeating, kind of the same mistakes I did in my late 20s, and
Mhm.
recreating that past into my present, bringing it forward. And I ended up losing, a couple $1 million. And I was, at the beginning, it was like I went into the victimhood, the poor me, the why me again, God? How many times do you got to test me? Like, why do I got to continue to be tested? And last year was a tough year for me. Yeah, it was. I, I talking about like mental health, like when you focus on whatever you focus on your thoughts, like that is what you create in your reality, right? And I was so knee deep in like the negative, and even though I have so many tools to pull from, and I've done, over a decade of therapy and work within
Mhm.
myself, like this is an ongoing journey that we get to do travel on for the rest of our life, right? And like every day we get to show up. And this past year, losing, all the money again, it was like such a hard pill for me to swallow. And I was focusing on this negative, feeling unworthy, feeling not good enough, feeling that I let my kids down, feeling that I let my wife down. And something that didn't even cross my mind 23 years ago when I lost my parents, like for the first time in my life, I was focusing so much on the pain
Yeah.
that a thought of wanting to hurt myself actually came in my head. And the thought of like me actually going and and trying to hurt myself was something that I I acted on. I didn't act on it in a sense, subconsciously. I think that I didn't do it. If I really wanted to hurt myself, I
Yeah.
could have, right? If I think there was a part of me that was like, no, no, I just want to hurt you a little bit, but I don't want you to kill yourself,
Yeah.
right? And I kind of went forward on the act, and within less than a minute, I found myself, and I'm like hurting myself, and I'm like, hold on, stop. I thought of my children, I thought of my wife, I got myself out of that. And beginning of this year, I go to Hollywood. I meet this guy, David Meltzer. He's all over Instagram. And I see this guy that's, crushing it, doing extremely well as a speaker, courses, all this stuff. And I see him giving to people outside of a banquet hall, like giving his soul, like loving into people, like for free.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I saw this guy, and I'm like, all these stories that I've been making up about myself, that I can't do this, that I can't be in this space, that I don't know how to use social media, whatever the story was, like it just turned on a light in my head. And that day, I remember going to my house and I said, I'm putting a rule on myself. And this is, I believe, what has helped me shift from where I was in such a dark place, majority of 23, to where I am today, that I feel that I'm just filled with light and love, is that I told myself I need to feed my body, I need
Mm.
to feed my mind, I need to feed my spirit, and I need to feed my heart every single day.
Yes.
And I put 9 minutes on myself, meaning I need to do any type of physical activity for 5 minutes. I meditate for 2 minutes. I pray for 2 minutes, and then I spend the morning. I make breakfast for my kids, take them to school, whatever that feeds my heart. So every day, I've now been doing it for 6 months, haven't missed a day. I give myself that 9-minute rule, but I'm really spending about an hour on myself between working out,
Mm.
meditation, and prayer. And since I started doing that, my vibration began to lift. The thoughts of that I was focusing on not enough, on lack of missing, on lacking, that began to disappear. And now everywhere I look, it's potential possibilities, endless amounts of possibilities. And as I began to step through one door, another one opened. And I really feel that when I chose this year consciously to put myself first and feed my body, my mind, my spirit, and my heart, my
Mm-hmm.
entire life has began to shift. And what I've been dreaming about creating for probably over a decade, I finally had the courage to step into that and take forward and move forward in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're saying is absolutely key, and that's like something that, as a coach, that but before that I had to learn personally too, is because we're three parts. We're body, mind, and spirit. And a lot of times, like, we're only nurturing one aspect, and we're like, oh, it's all in the mindset, and so you're just feeding your mind. But then your heart and your body is like, hello, I'm starving over here.
Yeah.
And so we really need to take care and nurture all parts of us, right? Our body, our mind, and our spirit. And when we do that, that feeds our heart, like you're saying. And um there's I cannot remember the verse reference, but it's like, from the issues of the heart the mouth speaks. And so when we're like, not when we're neglecting like parts of ourselves, and we're not taking care of our body, our mind, and our spirit, like you're saying, then we're hurting, right? And we're like, I'm starving, and the heart is like gonna start having some troubles down there, and then it's going to start coming out of our mouths of like, I'm worthless, or like, I screwed up again, or I can't believe, like whatever. And that talk is going to come back. And so I love for you that you've realized that, and you started with 9 minutes, which I think is really reasonable, because I think a lot of times people are like, oh, in order to build like this amazing life, I have to have like amazing amounts of time.
Right.
And
That's
I don't
that's
have
why.
time.
Right, that was my story, right? Like, oh, I don't have time. I'm super busy, and I told myself, well, I could give myself 9 minutes. I could commit to 9 minutes Monday through Sunday, and there's days that I spend an hour and a half.
Yeah,
There's literally days that I'm rushing, and I only do 9 minutes, but it's okay. But
yeah,
the key was consistency, and since I started to be consistent, not only it did things begin to shift, but subconsciously in my mind, like I verbally said something, and I'm like I'm holding myself in integrity. I'm being impeccable with my word. Like, I'm in my mind subconsciously, I'm like, Richie, I trust you. You said you're gonna
yeah,
do something, and you're delivering it. Your work. So then when I just started doing that part of me, then when I said in my mind, and I said, oh, I'm gonna continue to do my real estate, but I'm gonna go and create the business that I really truly feel inspired and called to do. That's what my heart's been pulling at me for over a decade. Well, now for over 6 months, I've been telling myself subconsciously, I trust myself. Now it's like I move forward, and I'm moving forward with confidence. It's like, oh, wow, I could do this. Oh, yes, I could do it. I say I'm going to do it, and I do it. So
yeah.
it's been pretty awesome these past 6 months, to say the least. And for me, it's been awesome because I'm actually celebrating myself. That's something that for a 2.5 decades, maybe 3 decades, I never did. Like, I would have achieved these amazing things, and instead of celebrating, I had a beat up stick, and it was like, you need more. Oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you're never gonna live up to your dad. Oh, you're not. Like, that was like what drove me. And yes, I did. I succeeded by what society calls successful, because your bank account doesn't mean you're successful, right?
No.
Um, so yes, I succeeded by that because my bank account grew, but cool, I lost it all, and I lost it all, and I went to zero. But I was beating myself up. This time, it's like irrelevant what my bank account says. It's I'm leading with love, right? And it's about pouring
Yeah.
into people. It's about building people up. It's about redirecting people back to their hearts. And yeah, that's it's that's what I'm committed to doing, and it's been awesome. It's been awesome, and I congratulate myself to be like, damn, man, look how far you've come in just 6 months. I can't wait to see the next decade
I
of,
know. I
of my
can't
life.
wait. I'm so excited for you. I am very, very excited for you. So, yes, congratulations. on, you know, the rebuilding. And I feel like what you're describing really shows the power of self-forgiveness, you know?
Yes.
Um, because when we really do, and it's like a proof, right? uh your focus on how you're building through love versus through what the bank account shows that you've forgiven yourself and you've forgiven other people, and you've cut yourself, so to speak, like the umbilical cord. You've now like cut that umbilical cord to the past failures, your past mistakes, other people's past mistakes, and like you're building in a whole different way. Like you've got the capacity now to like build, and it's going to be beautiful because it's built with love.
Yes, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the self-forgiveness is, we didn't, you just touched on it, but we didn't,
We
I
did.
didn't touch on it, but but that is a key, right? Like that is, to me, to set you free, right? Like literally, it's the part of like I'm giving myself permission now to actually move forward. Like that
Yeah.
story of my parents and the kidnapping for 2 decades, I blamed myself. Like to me, it was like I should have saved their lives. Like how crazy is that for me? But that was a belief that I adopted at 19 years old. That it was like it's my fault. I should have saved their lives. I should have called 911. I should have picked up the phone. I should have done something. I didn't do. I sat there and I just listened to the adults in the room. And I carried that story for a long time, and that was something that was really really holding me back. And the moment that I dropped that story and forgave myself and allowed myself to move forward, the doors begin. It's like the light, right? The light just comes in, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, all the blocks that you've been building around your heart have been removed, and you're able to access that light, that love.
Yeah. Well, I also feel like when we're telling ourselves stories of like, I should have done this or I should have done that, we don't even know that had we done those things, it would have had the outcome that we
Right, they say we
desired.
want. Yep.
It's like still like it may not have. It may have, but it may not have. And so we're building a story on something that's really not true, because we have no idea what the outcome could have been. And it could have been like worse, even sometimes those should haves. But we don't know, and we think like, so when we reframe it, yeah, it's so important how we reframe it, because yeah, that forgiveness and letting yourself off the hook helps you to then just be like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this now, this new way. And I'm going to tell myself, and I'm going to write the story as I go. I'm not going to tell myself how it should look or how it's going to have to be. Like, I'm going to like write this story every day.
Yep.
Yes. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, this has been so much fun chatting with you. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions, but feel free to drop them in the chat. Hey, Blessed Hands Catering, thank you for joining us. I see your brother and brother Gifted had a little bit of back and forth, which is cool. He said, "That's wonderful. Who are you referring to?" Oh, he's the reason oh yeah, your cousin was like, he's the reason. So you were inspiring him, and yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Um, you're welcome, Schneidine. Brother Gifted. Okay, got it now. Hey, sister Schneidine. Oh, Schneidine sending you hearts. Yes.
Thank you.
Blessed Hands Catering said this is so true. Real emotions. Yes, some human beings do want to hurt themselves because they're hurting. And I feel like those are the lies, right? We have to be careful. It's so important that we take every thought captive. Like, who told me that? Where did that thought come from? You know? Like, how do I know that? How do I know that to be true? Because like when we're in a place of unforgiveness, for example, we're in a place of fear, that it could be a spirit of fear or unforgiveness, or it could be like a friend's voice or a family member's voice or culture's voice, right? So how do I know that what I'm, like we have to take every thought captive and be like, how do I know that one is the true thing? Because obviously the voice that was telling you the feelings that were like encouraging you to hurt yourself, that was a lie, right? You have so
Yep.
much to offer the world. I feel like just in this conversation alone, just this one conversation has really helped people, and supported people. And so, like I said, I really thank you for that. And so, like really asking and taking our thoughts captive. Life is very, so wait, hold on. Real emotions. Blessed Hands Catering said life is very challenging. Sometimes we do think about hurting ourselves. And then Schneidine said, feed your minds daily. Yes, we do have to be
Yes.
careful, like what we're listening to. Absolutely, Schneidine. Ms. Image, IMG, said, I applaud the courage to be real and share your story. And wait, hold on. More so that control over your actions. Bravo. Yes. Thank you, Mrs. JIMG. By Portal said, Richie's story is a huge inspiration. A story, whoops. Oh my gosh, why is this not like a story of highs and lows and one of continuous reinvention. Yes, well, yes, like yes, we do have to reinvent, write those new stories. Life is change. It doesn't get easier. We get better. His story embodies that. Bet on yourself. Yes, I think sometimes we think, oh, I made this decision and now everything's going to be fine. And like you were sharing, you've had highs and lows, and like last year was a low for you,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and things, yeah, it's
that's
like a
life. That's life,
lifelong.
right? Like life, we go up, we go down, and I think that throughout life, we think like, oh, we have this plan, and this is how it's going to be. Well, what do they say? Tell God your plans and watch them laugh, right? Like,
Yeah.
like that's like life is not gonna go always according to plan, right? So I feel that it's always like for me, it's been about like you fall off the wagon and then it's recommit and take action and continue to recommit and you fall off and take action and if you got to pivot, you pivot. And it's all about recommitting. And for me, is it's about giving ourselves grace. Like that was something that I've learned, especially in the last couple of years. That was something that I didn't do for myself often, if at all.
Yeah.
So it's about giving ourselves grace. And like we're human, we're going through a human experience. Shit happens. We get to pivot. We get to recommit, and we get to show up and be ourselves authentically, and like keep our hearts open.
Yes.
Let's keep
Be,
our hearts open.
yes. Be your own best friend.
Yep.
Like
Yep. Yep.
at the end of the day, who's always going to be with us? Well, God and ourselves. Like the only other human who really goes through all of this thing called life with us is us, right? So yeah, giving ourselves grace and really being our own best friends. Talk to ourselves like we would talk to our best friends, or like we would like someone to talk to us.
Yep.
Sometimes we're like, oh, she disrespected me, but meanwhile you or me, like we're putting
Right.
ourselves down harder than
Right.
someone we're mad at. Yeah.
Yep.
Blessed Hands Catering said, yes, we thirst for more and we are worthy of more out of life. Yes. Hey, Marcus. Welcome. Sorry, I'm just seeing you joins now. Hey, Goddess. Welcome. Brother Gifted said, there's a lot in the comments we were missing. Usually there is a strong comfortability about it. It's it that tells you whether what you intend to do is right or wrong. Yeah. Yeah, we kind of know right and wrong, but
Yep.
sometimes we depending on the story that we're telling ourselves, right, might be thinking the wrong is right. So it's
Right.
so
Yep.
important that we have stories. And I my personal teaching when I work with people is to teach from the Bible, because those are stories of God and those are stable and they don't change based on age, based on generation, based on culture. They don't change, and it's like a stable story that we can look at and be like, that's really who I am. God said that I am tattooed on his hands and I'm ever before him, right? Like I can take that to the bank, that if I and you and everyone has, who has a relationship with God, like is tattooed on God's hands, right? Like why do you get a tattoo, right? To remember something. And like that's because you want that with you. Well, unless it's like a drunken tattoo that you just get by accident or something. But we're talking like, when you go out and you're like, I want the name of my child, like, like because, so we're ever before God. Like I can take it to the bank that God's never going to leave me now. Like I know that because he's taken the time to have me put on his palm, so like it's like great for our identity when we have something stable that doesn't change based on our circumstances or our mood or what's
Yep.
going on around us. Brother Gifted said, however, getting that extra guidance from the Lord God is significant. Yes, thank you for always reminding us, Brother Gifted. And oh, you put hearts to everyone. Oh, yeah. This has been so much fun. Were
It's
there
been
any
awesome.
last thoughts or anything you wanted to share?
No, this has been an amazing experience. I'm super grateful to you for hosting this and inviting me on here, to share this with you. It's been awesome, and it's been great for me to uh, to share with everybody, and it's been extremely therapeutic for me, to let go and go through these emotions, right? So yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think that's part of forgiveness because remember at the beginning, I said one of the things about forgiveness not being what forgiveness is not is it's not about being quiet. And I think a lot of times we feel so much shame about things, especially when we're not forgiving ourselves and we're like, I should have done this, I could have done that. Um, it actually gets bigger in our minds and it magnifies. And so, like, at the right time, like to talk about things that we've gone through or our struggles or our challenges, it's very healing. Yeah, it's very healing and as well as helping other people. Yeah,
Yep.
so thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
So yes, that is for Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you to everybody that's here. Love you.
Yes, love you and appreciate you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye.